It's not even really food.
That's right. It's not food more than anything.
Okay, so it's really as bad as some of the documentaries
Without
would make
question.
us believe.
Korea has it.
건강하지 않기를 바라는 사람은 없을 겁니다. 진짜 건강하고 싶다면 주어진 대로 사는 것에서 벗어나 나를 둘러싼 환경과 내가 먹는 음식에 대해 아는 것부터 시작해야 하는데요. 모든 식재료를 다 공부하는 데는 시간이 걸리지만 최소한 어떤 것을 피해야 하는지는 알고 있어야 합니다. 마트 진열대에 있는 가공식품들은 내 건강과는 무관하게 만들어진 것들이기 때문입니다.
That sugar, which is the marker of ultra-processed food, and 73% of the items in the grocery store are spiked with sugar, inhibits burning. It inhibits those 3 enzymes involved in mitochondrial function.
This rat is perfectly healthy. Put him in a vat of water and he finds his way to safety every time.
5.2.
Now, look at this guy. What he's been eating is the equivalent of a North American diet, complete with all the fats and sugars we regularly consume. He doesn't know where to go. His brain has been damaged.
These rats were totally normal. They turned into demented animals. They don't remember their learning after even a day. As the challenge gets harder and harder, they fail more and more, just like a human with Alzheimer's disease.
36.2.
In this lab, the belief now is that Alzheimer's is really diabetes of the brain. Look at this breakfast bar. There's sugar near the top of the ingredient list, but there's 4 more sweeteners. Would you know that chemically they're all the same?
저자는 미국 식품 산업들의 눈밖에 난 사람입니다. 저자가 말하는 건강을 위해 먹지 말아야 할 것과 건강을 위해 꼭 필요한 것이 무엇인지 정리했습니다.
So here's the question, Andrew. You said all this food is still on the shelves. Is it food? What is the definition of food?
I would give something that contains caloric energy. Yeah, I could eat this microphone, but it's not going to provide much useful energy.
The definition of food, straight from the dictionary, and believe me, I looked it up and memorized it, substrate that contributes to either growth or burning of an organism.
Interesting.
That is the definition of food.
I'm pretty scientific.
100% correct. Growth or burning. So any substrate that passes your lips that contributes to either growth or burning, that's food. Let's do burning first. I just showed you that sugar, which is the marker of ultra-processed food, and 73% of the items in the grocery store are spiked with sugar, inhibits burning. It inhibits those 3 enzymes involved in mitochondrial function. Now let's do growth. My colleague actually looked at this question and showed that ultra-processed food actually inhibits growth. It inhibits cortical bone growth. It inhibits trabecular bone growth. It inhibits cancellous bone growth. It inhibits linear bone growth. It hijacks growth for cancer because it inhibits mitochondria.
A Harvard-trained mathematician, Moskowitz uses models to test people's reactions to different versions of a product. Once he's found the bliss point, the product hits the shelves. From soda pop to spaghetti sauce, his magic makes money.
Everybody wants to sell just a bit more. How do you get that immediate increase in acceptance? Those in the know realize you can add a little sugar.
A little. The first thing to know is that 4 grams of sugar is 1 teaspoon. So with that in mind, let's look at some products. It's no surprise Coca-Cola has a lot of sugar. 40 grams a can, that's 10 teaspoons. But much of the sugar we eat is hidden in foods we don't necessarily think of as sweet. This oatmeal, 3 3/4 teaspoons of sugar a bowl. This vanilla-flavored yogurt, nearly 5 teaspoons in just half a cup. You can find sugar added to bread, soup, all kinds of condiments, hot dogs. This chicken dinner labeled healthy choice has 5.5 teaspoons of sugar in every serving.
The key, though, is Pakistan and India and China. They are not fat, but they have 14% diabetes rates, and they're thin. And the reason is because of ultra-processed food.
Are there any countries in the world don't allow high fructose corn syrup, or at least not at the level that we do?
Okay, there are boatloads of countries that don't import high fructose corn syrup or don't make it.
So Scandinavian countries?
Scandinavian countries, most of Europe, other than the Asia-Pacific Rim, So Japan has it. In fact, it was invented in Japan, 1966, Saga Medical School, Takasaki. Korea has it, but Australia does not have it. Thailand does not have it, but they have just as much obesity and diabetes problem as we do because they have sucrose, because high fructose corn syrup and sucrose are no different metabolically. So it doesn't really matter. It's nothing to do with the calories. It has everything to do with the insulin. If you get the insulin down, you're not shunting energy to fat. You can lose weight. Your fat will give up the triglycerides stored in it as soon as your insulin goes down. So get the insulin down, and it all works. So the question is, what makes insulin go up? Well, two things, refined carbohydrate and sugar. Those are the two things that make insulin go up. In addition, branched-chain amino acids make insulin go up as well. Leucine, isoleucine, valine, which is in corn-fed beef, chicken, and fish, processed food.
Is this the result? There's no question as our consumption of sugars has grown, so have our bodies. And those stats raise the troubling question, are we changing our evolutionary shape? Here's the line showing our sugar consumption for the last 50 years. Here's the number of people who've become overweight and obese. Now, look at this line. It's for cases of type 2 diabetes. And this one, diseases of the heart.
It's shameful that we are poised to intervene to make sure that pizza continues to count as a vegetable and that we protect the privileged status of French fries on the lunch tray. The problem we have in front of us is the institution of vegetables has been weakened in this country, and the effort to redefine it on this vast social experiment that we have going on, redefining vegetables differently than it has ever been defined by mankind before. This effort of this vast social experiment, the early data that we see from other places, harms the institution of the family, the raising of the next generation, and is harmful to the future of the Republic.
Nutritionists will tell you the more greens you eat, the more vegetables you eat, the healthier you'll be. So I used to eat salad. Not anymore. Now I'm going to eat pizza and French fries. Thank you. Have you heard the good news? French fries and pizza are going to be vegetables. Really. Congress is going to make it a law and everything. So kids, you have a small window of opportunity here. The next time your parents say to you, eat your vegetables, grab a slice. If they have a problem with that, tell them to call their congressman.
Everywhere you... McDonald's apple pie. Does that McDonald's apple pie look anything like that apple? Is there even any apple in it?
Maybe a tiny
Maybe
bit.
not. It's all flavor enhanced, etc. Turns out that ultra-processed food category, which is 73% of the American grocery store, is the class that is associated with all of these chronic metabolic diseases, which turns out to only be 20% of the grocery store.
It means basically staying on the periphery of the grocery store,
Well,
right?
that's
in
a
general.
lot of it. In general.
Yeah.
Yes,
the
in
produce,
general.
the meat, the dairy, the...
All the things you mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm not low carb, I'm low insulin. And there are a lot of ways to get to low insulin. Get rid of the refined carbohydrate, get rid of the sugar, increase the fiber, get rid of the branched chain amino acids. Eating fish is a good place to be. Even eating a steak is okay if it's a pasture-fed steak. So you mentioned marbling before. We love our marbling, right? We can cut our U.S. grade A steaks with a butter knife because they're so tender, right? You ever been to Argentina? New Zealand, same thing.
Yeah.
The meat is gorgeous. It's homogeneous. It's pink. It's delightful. I've been to Argentina. The meat is fantastic, but you have to use a steak knife. You can't use a butter knife.
And it takes more chewing.
It takes more chewing because it's a different experience entirely. It's delicious, but it is kind of a little bit tougher. Turns out that marbling is intramyocellular lipid. That animal has metabolic syndrome.
The American corn-fed.
The American corn-fed animal, because that corn is filled with branched-chain amino acids, leucine, isoleucine, valine. Branched-chain amino acids are what's in protein powder. That's what bodybuilders, put in their smoothies, to build muscle. And if you're building muscle, that's okay because 20% of the amino acids in muscle are branched chain. If you've got a place to put them, have at it.
Yeah, there's a need there because
There's
they're
a need
breaking
there.
down muscle.
Yeah, fine. But if you're not, if you're, again, a mere mortal like me, you consume those excess branched chain amino acids, they're going to go to the liver, they're going to be deamidated, like we talked about earlier, and they're going to end up as branched chain organic acids. They're going to flood the mitochondria. The mitochondria are not going to be able to deal with the volume, and so they're going to divert the excess and turn that into fat. And so now you've got hypertriglyceridemia and chance for fatty liver disease and insulin resistance.
I will say that I always say behaviors first, right? Do's and don'ts. Yeah. Behaviors, nutrition, then only if needed and one can afford it, then supplementation. Consumer of supplements and always have been, frankly. Okay. So what are the three? So you take
fish oil.
Yeah,
about 1,000 milligrams.
Okay, say about a gram a day.
Gram a day.
Okay.
Vitamin C.
How much vitamin C do you take?
1,000 milligrams a day.
You and Linus Pauling.
Yeah, well, it's actually for my rosacea. And finally, vitamin D.